By the end of this lesson, you know how to create a Cloud.md file that configures Cloud Code's behavior, giving you consistent, safe, and context-aware AI assistance throughout your project. Imagine you're working on a financial application. Every time you start a new coding session with your AI assistant, you have to repeat yourself. Remember to use parameterized queries. Don't forget the error handling. Make sure you follow our docstring format. And don't touch the config files. This is exhausting. If you forget to mention something once, your AI might make a costly mistake, like modifying a sensitive configuration file or writing insecure database queries. There has to be a better way to give your AI persistent memory about your project's rules and boundaries. The better way is called a Cloud.md file. This is a special markdown file in your project's root directory. Think of it as a configuration file that Cloud Code reads at the start of every session. It's like giving your AI agent a handbook for your project. You write it once and it works forever. No more repeating yourself. No more hoping the agent remembers your requirements. Cloud.md files are specifically for agentic systems, AI that take autonomous action in your codebase. So the stakes are higher and the guardrails stronger. So what goes in a Cloud.md file? Four main categories. First, project context. This is a brief overview of what your project does, what language and frameworks you're using, and any important architectural decisions. This helps Cloud Code understand the big picture. Second, coding standards. These are your team's conventions. Things like documentation requirements, error handling patterns, naming conventions, and code style preferences. Third, file access restrictions. This is critical for enterprise safety. You explicitly tell Cloud Code which directories or files it should never read or modify. Things like secrets, configuration files, production data. Fourth, testing conventions. Where should tests live? What naming patterns do you use? Should new features include tests? Let's see what this looks like in practice. Here's a complete Cloud.md file. At the top, we define project context. We're specific about the technology and purpose. This is a fintech payment API, so security is critical. The coding standards section gives explicit requirements. Notice the strong language. All endpoints must have error handling. Always use parameterized queries. Never concatenate SQL strings. This isn't a suggestion. It's a rule Cloud Code follows automatically. Now, the enterprise security piece. The file access restrictions section creates hard boundaries. We use the word prohibited. There is no ambiguity. Config directory is off limits. Secrets directory is off limits. Any .env files are off limits. Notice what we tell Cloud to do if we accidentally ask it to violate these rules. Politely decline and explain why. The testing requirements ensure every new feature gets proper test coverage in the right location. So how does this work behind the scenes? When you start a Cloud Code session, it looks for a Cloud.md file in your root directory. If it finds one, Cloud reads the entire file and loads it into its context. From that moment on, every decision Cloud makes, every file it edits, every function it writes, every suggestion it gives is filtered through the rules you define. This means if you ask Cloud to add a database query, it uses parameterized statements because that's in the Cloud.md file. If you ask it to create a new feature, it creates tests in the right location. And most importantly, if you accidentally ask it to do something prohibited, like modify a config file, it will refuse and remind you of the constraint. This is session-long memory that protects your database. Let me give you 3 best practices and 3 mistakes to avoid. First, be specific but not prescriptive. Don't just say write secure code. That's too vague, but don't list every function signature. Say use parameterized queries. That's specific enough to guide behavior, but flexible enough to allow good solutions. Second, Set boundaries explicitly. Don't assume Cloud will figure out what's sensitive. If a directory contains secrets, say so clearly. Use direct language like never and always where appropriate. Third, think security first. Never put actual secrets or API keys in your Cloud.md file. This file is version controlled. It gives instructions about security. It doesn't store sensitive data. And don't write your Cloud.md files then forget it. As your project evolves, new frameworks, new security requirements, update your Cloud.md file accordingly. Treat it as a living documentation. Let's recap what we have covered. Cloud.md files are configuration files that give Cloud Code persistent memory about your project's rules, standards, and boundaries. Every Cloud.md file should include project context to explain what you're building, coding standards to ensure consistency, file access restrictions to maintain security, and testing conventions to maintain quality. The power of this approach is that you configure once and benefit throughout the entire project lifecycle. You're essentially programming your AI agent's behavior through natural language documentation. Now it's your turn. After this lesson, you complete a hands-on exercise where you create a Cloud.md file for a healthcare API project. You define security boundaries, set coding standards, and establish testing conventions. Once you have mastered this skill, you'll be able to deploy agentic AI systems safely and effectively in any enterprise environment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the exercise.